Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to All Geeked Out, your number one podcast destination for everything you geek out about. I am your host, Anthony, with you as always. And today I am joined by my lovely wife, Juliana.
Hi.
And that's all you're going to get out of her, so don't expect much more than that. I love that little curt hi. All right, so we're just gonna jump into it. I've been kind of bursting at the seams to talk about today's subject. We went and watched yesterday, and we're talking about, obviously you probably already saw the title of this episode. It is Dune Part 2. And before we even get into it, I'm just gonna go ahead and let's just all right. First of all, give you our rating.
100.
All right. No, give a Julie rating. What did you? I don't even think this registered. We didn't even have like this on your scale yet. Like this isn't like you would have just been like, whoa! Like, this would have been like right out of the way. In case you haven't. You haven't seen this episode yet. I did explain. Julie has a rating system that we're gonna use, and it's pretty much just grunts. It's like it's about as base, like just animal instinct, like desire, like as you could get, like a cave. You can picture a caveman. You like something, you go.
Shut up.
And that's Julie's rating system. It's like she'll finish watching something, and if she likes it, she'll give it like a very polite and and if she don't like it, she'll like and if she really hates it, she just doesn't say anything at all. She just gets up and leaves. Yeah. So with this one, I'm not even gonna ask her for a rating because it's not even on her charts. Basically, that's the one way of saying that we both absolutely loved this movie.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. You go back and you look at Dune Part 1.
That was awesome too.
It was great, but it just left so much like that you just wanted more. Like you just didn't get enough. It was like it's almost like it just started getting good, and then they just like no, you gotta wait 3 years and to see what happens.
It was 3 years?
It was almost 3 years. Yeah, I mean, I know it was 2001. Dune Part 1 came out in 2001. This was 2004. I don't remember like the exact dates, but I'm pretty sure the Part 1 was early because I remember it was still like during like the COVID, like everything was like kind of stay at home. Yeah, because this was when they released Part 1. They released it in theaters and on HBO Max at the same time. Remember? Because we watched it here. We watched it at home.
Yeah, you were watching it, yeah.
And it was released like it was like a dual release. This one, and at the time, I was glad to be able to see it at home, but it was also like this was a movie we should have saw. Like the first one was a movie that you should have saw in the theaters. Part 2 was a movie that you have to see in the theater. I mean, they're forcing you to do it, but of course, people can wait till it comes on streaming. Don't wait. Do not wait. This is a movie that just I feel, I don't know. I mean, I felt it was so much more enjoyable watching it in the theater, and we didn't even go the full route. I mean, we went local because we went like on an early Sunday. I don't like really going in to see movies on the opening weekend. I'm kind of like I have like social anxieties, I guess you could say. I don't like the prospect of somebody talking around me when I'm watching. I like to sit and like focus on my movie, and so we tend to do it like on like early or like the early shows, like the matinees, and it's not for like money purposes. It's just because there's less people there, and sure enough, there was less people here.
Yeah. And they still come sit near us.
Yeah.
And the whole theater.
It's like you can look, because like, you can buy your tickets online now and you can get, you can see the seating chart. So I bought my tickets like 2 days ahead, and I was like, all right, there was like nobody, there was like about like 8 people in seats. And you could see like they did it, everybody was like following a plan. Like there was 2 in the middle, and then there's two in the middle here, and they went off to the side. The seat in front of them was two in the middle off to the side. So I did the two in the middle off to the side. And then somebody fucking, boom, right next to us. And I looked at it that morning, and I'm like, what the are you fucking kidding me? Like, somebody looked at the chart and said, oh, let's sit next to these people. So, oh, let's sit next to these people. Anyway.
At least they were quiet.
They were quiet. Yeah, everybody was respectful. It was and that's the other thing too, is like when you go to those matinee shows on like opening weekend of like a big sci-fi movie, you're getting the geeks. Like you're getting like I noticed a lot of like single seats too. So you're getting like the guys that like they crawled out of the mom's basement for I gotta see this. So they're probably still in mom's basement, man. Well, either that or it's like they weren't lucky enough to have a wife like mine that says, I want to go see this too because I enjoy this stuff. And you probably didn't enjoy this stuff before you met me, right? Like this was.
I didn't know anything about this.
So like she allowed me to introduce this stuff into her life, which is that's. I don't want to get all mushy but it's speaking of mushiness and like relationship stuff. In the middle of this movie, like through like this whole like epic science fiction, good versus bad, revenge, and all these like big houses and political intrigue, and at the heart of this movie and this story is a love story, and it's between Johnny, played by Zendaya, and Paul Atreides by I mean we're kind of like we just jumped the gun on this, but I had to connect this to the love aspect. But I enjoyed that part of it. Like that's usually something that I overlook as like a science fiction fan and like fantasy action. A dude movie. Usually like the love story is like something you have to kind of tolerate to get to the good stuff. But I felt in this, it's kind of central to the story, and it was a good like storyline. I felt, I mean, you look at it like, when they started out, she was really suspicious of. I mean, right from the get-go in part one, like he's having visions of her.
Yeah.
And then he meets her. So you got a picture like the day I met you, I was like, where's she been all my life?
Yeah.
But with him, it's like she's been in my head my whole life. Now I'm meeting her. So it adds like such a twist to it. But then she kind of like warms to him, and like there is an attraction like the first time they see each other. Like in part one, you could see it in her face. Like she almost like it's almost like a hint of recognition. Like she knew maybe dreamt about him too, but the spice has like a thing with that. But I think he had it before then. I don't know, but whatever it is, they have an initial like definite attraction. And then, like, even when she didn't trust him, she was even helping him. Like when that guy wanted to fight him, like Janice wanted to, fight him, and he wouldn't give it up. And like she pretty much was like, "You're gonna die, but you seem like a nice guy."
Yeah.
She like gives him her the knife, the Chris knife that right? Her the tooth the Chris knife that they use. She's like, give it to she gives it to him. She's like, it's an honorable weapon to die with, or something like that. Like you'll die with honor with this. Like she was like writing him off. And then of course he fucking kicks the shit out of Janice. Like he killed him like 5 times. Like every time they stopped and he would like have the knife on him. He's like, do you yield? And he's like, and the guy just kept getting mad, and he trying again. Do you yield? And he's like, no.
Who's saying that he wasn't like that?
What?
He wasn't a killer.
Well, the mother. The mother, because Stilgar says to her while they're fighting, he's like, he's gonna kill him. This is the way we do it.
Yeah.
There's no like, you don't walk away from this. You have to die. And she's like, he's never killed anybody. You know what I mean? So and that was like a part of a coming of age. Like you're with Paul on every step of his like coming of age. Like he makes all these steps.
He played this so good.
Good. That goes without saying. So, all right, so we jumped into that because I was talking about my wife, and I just talk about how there's a love story at the middle of this whole thing that is essential to the story. We'll get into that eventually, but so just the movie itself. All right, first of all, it was like I definitely better than the original. So this automatically puts this into that conversation of the greatest sequels of all. Even though it was an established sequel, like it was already like there's different kinds of sequels. There's a sequel where A movie was successful, made a lot of money. Wasn't intended for a sequel, or maybe was like it could be a sequel. Let's just see how it does. But they like pretty much wrap up the story in the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So then when the sequel comes out, it's like, all right, you had that story, but we're gonna add this story to it. This one, like when the way part one ended, you knew there was another whole story to come, like the whole second half of the story. Like I remember when we first watched Dune, I wasn't even like aware of the fact that they were already like there was already a definite part two. And I remember like when we were watching it, we were like, and then right at the end it says part one. I was like, oh, all right. I was like, but
So it didn't say that this time, so you wonder if it's gonna have another
because
one.
yeah, because they're not. So the word is on that. We'll just jump into that. There is a part three. So the way they did this was Dune Part One, the movie, was like the first half of the original novel, Dune, all right, by Frank Herbert. And then Dune Part Two was the second half of that book. And it pretty much ends right where the first novel ends. All right. There's five sequels. Five like sequel novels to this. I mean you got Dune Messiah, all right. So Dune Part One, the first book, written by Frank Herbert, 1965. Actually got turned down by like 20 publishers. Like he brought the story to like 20 different publishers. They all turned it down. The one that actually published it was like an auto manufacturing publisher who just took a shot on it. They're like, all right, we'll do it. Turns out it ends up being like probably some people feel it's the most important, most significant science fiction novel of all time. Like Star Wars, like there would be no Star Wars if it wasn't for Dune. Like, because there was no book, like there was no Star Wars novel. George Lucas invented Star Wars, and you cannot deny that there are hundreds of similarities between these two books,
Yeah,
right?
well, I don't know.
Well, you would, yeah, but it's the storylines,
Yeah.
like Paul, the young kid coming up, he ends up being like, the kind of a messiah because with the Force in Star Wars, it's kind of like religion and spiritual faith in Dune and all that stuff. But then you had like after that you have Dune Messiah, which is what part three would be based on. Dune Messiah, which was the first sequel book. They did Children of Dune. You got God Emperor of Dune. You had a bunch of other ones. Then he passes away. I want to say in '86. Frank Herbert passes away in '86. His son Brian Herbert starts picking up the writings
Cool.
where he left off. Yeah. So what Brian did, him. Some other guy, I think his name was Anderson. He teamed up with like another novelist, science fiction novelist, and they did a bunch of like background novels. So they did like a book about the Harkonnen, about the Atreides, about the Emperor family. I forget what the family's name is. And so they ended up. So there's like between like novels that Herbert wrote, his kid wrote, unsanctioned novels. There's short stories. There's like 26 different books that have to do with this, and probably more than that, like fan fiction and all that shit nowadays. But this book, all right, this was intended to be a definite two parts, and then I think if they even had like an inkling of doing a third one, with the success of these two, there's no way they're not going to do one. Denis Villeneuve is already writing the third. One. He said he's already scripting.
Oh, I hope so.
Fear not, fans. There will be a third, and it's going to be bonkers because it's going to be like this book. You had like it was basically Atreides versus Harkonnen, and then the Emperor and the Empire. This is gonna all the other houses, so you're gonna have like 6 new Harkonnens coming into the scene that he has to deal with. It's gonna be fucking crazy, and I'm not even gonna worry about them doing it right because they have my complete faith.
I'm like excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. So like taking this down to the journey that got us here. I mean, you got those books, right? Then you had so you had the '84 film, the much maligned David Lynch
Which I saw for the
rendition.
first time.
That I just
I was
we
like, what the hell is
did
this?
you finish watching it? Because I fell asleep during it.
I watched it a little bit more and then that was it.
Yeah, it's yeah. You're
And
not
not
meant to
that I
watch.
probably would have watched it all. I
It
was
it gets
tired.
even crazier once they get to
But I
like
want to finish it then.
the second half of it is like it's nuts. Like the way they do the whole like when they drink the water of life and
Oh,
like
really?
they do like well the blue stuff when she drinks
Yeah,
the blue stuff.
I didn't see it
They
so much.
they get into all that. The his sister I think gets born and she talks and it's just really fucking like
Oh,
strange.
no, I want to see it.
It's really crazy. Yeah, you probably have to see it once in your life.
I mean, I saw like a little bit more than half.
Yeah. So in preparation to go watch Dune 2, Part 2, we rewatched Dune Part 1 the night before, and then when we got done, I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna throw on. She had never seen it, and I threw on the David Lynch version. And it gets trashed.
Yeah, but you got to think about like how it was back
When
then.
it
They
came
don't have
out,
the technology
right,
they do
right.
now.
And it's chock full of big actors at the time. I mean, I even forgot like Virginia Madsen was in it. You got Miguel Ferrer. I mean, you had like all these like little actors at the time that were like really decent actors then. And so it's got its place in history now, you know. And there was another almost made version. A lot of people don't know about this, and I will say go on HBO Max. All right, if this interests you, what I'm about to tell you, go on HBO Max and check out what the fuck's this guy? The Jodorowsky. It begins with a J. It's spelled Jodorowsky. Jodorowsky's Dune. I think it's Jodorowsky, but it's spelled with a J. And it's about this. There was a version of Dune that was almost made. It was like right on the verge. This is like in early 70s, like 1972, I think. This guy was gonna make a fucking like a psychedelic version of Dune. Actually, I'm not gonna say it's a great documentary. This Jodorowsky's Dune. It's very interesting. I'll put it that way. It's interesting. It's a little long. It gets a little boring, but some of the shit that is in this thing is pretty. It's pretty. You know, eye opening. But anyway, then you had in 1976, all right, Dino De Laurentiis, who ends up making the '84 version directed by David Lynch, when he gets the script. It's Ridley Scott, and I know you don't know Ridley Scott really well. I mean, he does all these like epic movies, and then he agreed to do it, and then he decided he kind of saw what was going on. He's like, this is like a fucked up thing. He's like, he got out and he ended up doing Blade Runner, which good for him because they ended up doing good. So anyway, it leads up to 1984. We get the David Lynch version. All right, so the David Lynch version was 2 hours. It was 2 hours and 17 minutes. And in David Lynch's defense, that was supposed to be a two film movie. So that's the past. So that's what we had for Dune. So Dune, you got this novel, this epic novel, this series of novels that science fiction, a lot of science fiction circles will say is the best science fiction novel ever written. It's kind of it's for science fiction what Lord of the Rings is for fantasy. Like basically that's what it is. Like he created a world as far as world building goes. His only peers are Tolkien and maybe Martin, and that's it. Like from Game of Thrones, like as far as world building goes, and George Lucas to an extent, but George Lucas had a lot of help. Like he built like a base of this universe, and people have just been building on it since then. But so now that leads us to Dune Part 1. Really good build up. I hear a lot of people complaining that all right, Dune was an okay movie, the first one. It was just basically one big setup for Part 2, which ended up and even like the first half of part two, I'm seeing like people saying it's still build up, and then you get that last hour of just like like you know what I mean, like where you just like that's it. I don't have to pay attention anymore to like storyline. Everything's happening now, and this is what it was all about. I disagree with that big time. I think there was so much into this. Like if you don't pay attention, and I can't wait to see part two again. Like I've seen part one, I don't know, 4 times probably. Like I think that was like my fourth time seeing it. I just can't wait to watch this again. I may pay to see it again in the theaters. I might want to go see it in
I might go
IMAX.
again.
Like I want to go see like IMAX because that's the only thing I wish we went and seen it in an IMAX theater. Um, but yeah, I mean this fucking it was just totally. I don't know. You start talking because I feel like I've been talking too much. And I don't know. So what we go in and we sit there and the movie starts. All right.
Yeah.
So take me through your experience. Like what did you feel? Like when did you like say, all right, yeah, this is going to be a good movie? Like, all right, so just to refresh your memory, you know,
I already knew it was gonna be a good movie.
the very first scene was
When I saw the preview here, I was excited.
oh yeah, we watched the
because I was trying to get. I remember a certain part, and I was like, wait a minute, I thought that was in part one, but it was actually the preview that we watched.
that we watched that long 7 minute scene of him doing the worm, the worm ride.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
And I was like, what the hell?
That was a good scene, but that was a good setup, and you could just it gave you a sense of like the epic.
And then it shows the
nature.
like him on what do they call that?
What?
The drawing of him on the worm.
When?
It showed it. After he rode the worm, it went back into like I don't know, like a cave or something, and it was him riding the worm.
Oh yeah.
But it looked like it's been there.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's probably because that will be there for like
that it's been there for a long time.
Right. You got so many like stories in this. You know, you got the revenge thing. You got the political, aspect with the Atreides and the Harkonnens, and you get that whole like Game of Thrones style thing, and then you got the love story between Chani and Paul, and then you got the relationship between Paul and his mother, and how that takes like a kind of like a twist in this, and then you got
she went psycho.
then you got the whole just on top of that, you got the whole Messiah thing, where it's like he steps into this situation where, and it's funny because they say how the Bene Gesserit like kind of planted these seeds, like they came in years before and created this mythology, knowing that this was because you remember the Bene Gesserit, they see the future, they could see all the possible futures that could happen, and one of them was it was gonna be on Arrakis, and there was gonna be the fucking Lisa Al Gaib. I still try to fucking remember how to pronounce that. It's the what the fuck is it? It's the Lisan Al Gaib, I believe is what they call it. And basically, what that translates to is like off-world prophet, like kind of like a somebody that's not a Fremen that comes in and he's going to be a prophet, and they will be the prophet that tells of the Kwisatz, the fuck. These words are so fucking tough to get.
So
like,
is that
the Kwisatz Haderach.
Is that an actual language that they made up, or is that
it's based off of some Arabic.
Yeah,
okay. A lot of it is based off.
I thought
Arabic.
I heard a language that like that.
Yeah, it's very like very steeped in like Arabic and like Middle Eastern like type thing. Obviously, I mean with the desert and all that. But I mean I don't know. This is I told you before, like I wanted to keep these to like 20 minutes. I'm gonna have to do some crazy fucking editing on this. See what we want to keep. And what
I like the fact what I liked a lot too is when they like hid and they got up so quickly and you could see like the breathing.
They hide in the
on that
was a funny scene too.
At first I was like, what the hell is
when
that?
When he's like, they're breathing, you can see like the little breathing, and then the Muad'Dib comes over and starts, and you can see him like, God damn, like he actually, like you could, I thought I heard him, somebody's like saying, like,
Yeah, get on
yeah.
it. Yeah.
And then you see the thing kind of shake
Yeah.
and the thing takes off.
Yeah.
Like it was funny, but like it's still like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they all fucking pop out and
Oh, that's
fucking
pretty
yeah.
cool.
And they use that a lot. I think that was kind of like a little nod towards Red Dawn. I will say
I would like to know
cinephiles.
if that was him really fighting or was that a double?
Oh, good question.
Her too.
I know she did a lot of her own stunts. From what I understand, I imagine he did. I watched a couple of the times, like, you know, it looked like his face, like when you had a good shot of the face when he was doing some of the stunts, like I kind of pay attention to that. And a few of the times, I'm pretty sure it was him.
Badass.
I mean, some of those fucking crazy spins that he was doing, I doubt it was him. And it's very easy. I mean, they were always wearing still suits and you know, the masks and everything, but they made it a point, like a lot of times with him, not to have the mask on. And I think that was when he was doing his own stunts, so that you can kind of show like, hey, it's really him. But yeah, the action was. I feel like the action was great, and it was also spaced out like perfectly. Like with a movie like this, you know, and that was like a lot of people's problems with Dune 1, because a lot of people haven't read this book, and it's, you know, it's a shame because it's such a good book. It's such a it's classic American literature.
I wish I liked to read.
It is. So, well, you get audiobooks. You know, I'm actually gonna probably do, because I read Dune, the first book. I didn't read any of the other ones, and I read it. What did I say? It was over 30 years ago. So I like a lot of it. Like I've lost over time, but I was surprised how much I retained, because there was so much, just like new words, new language, new like I told you this. There's literally in the paperback there was like a glossary about that thick, and just for all the words you had to go through, like crysknife and siege, and you know, every little fucking thing. There's so much new shit, and that's why I put him on a par with Tolkien and George Martin, because like they created, not only created a world, they created languages, they created like cultures. Like, how do you do that? Like, how does one person think of, not just one, like think of just like, if somebody asked you, hey, well, I want you to just make up a peoples, make up a culture, make up like from their beginnings to their ends, break up their language, how they, what they eat, how they live, what shelters they use, how every aspect, and it would take like the normal person years to do something like that, and years to do something like that, and these that times however many times, like how many different peoples they created, how many different like languages, you know, they just to think of just creating a language, even if it's based off of a language, like, you know, like they based a lot of, you know, this, like a lot of the Fremen, you know, language was based off of Arabic. You know, a lot of Tolkien's languages were based off of different, you know, like the dwarves, they were like really based on like Germanic languages and Norse languages, and the elves, they were based on like a different kind of, like, and it was like always like there's a basis for everything, but you still gotta make up the words so that the people that speak that language can't understand it, because if they can't, you can't have them understand it. So it's just so much into it, and just the fact that, all right, so you got this guy, Denis Villeneuve, who came in and did what countless others couldn't do, and was make this movie. Because this is like, everybody wanted to make this movie. It just couldn't be done for the budget. And then, you know, once technology kind of caught up and you could kind of make it, but you couldn't make it right. Like this could have been a CGI shit fest. You know what I mean? And he came in, he did it right. It takes a certain amount of passion to do this, and it's not like this ain't his first fucking rodeo. I mean, his fucking every single movie this guy made has been at least good, or if not great. I mean, he is right now. He's definitely in the top 3 directors, like total. Like, I mean, the only people I can think of that come close is Christopher Nolan. He's probably top 2. Christopher Nolan is the closest thing to what you get with him. I mean, I'm still a Ridley Scott fan. I haven't lost faith in Ridley Scott. He's due for like a big epic. Like he'll have like a couple busts and then he'll have like the big one. I still love Ridley Scott. You still got your James Cameron out there. He's losing respect for me. He's just like he's got too big an ego. Um, but yeah, I mean, Scorsese's he's done. Um, so yeah, I mean, yeah, he's probably the best actor out there. I mean, he did Arrival. I don't know if you remember that movie. Sicario. Uh, Blade Runner 2024. That's funny because there's a connection between Blade Runner and Dune because Ridley Scott ended up doing the original Blade Runner. He was signed on to direct Dune, and Denis Villeneuve did Blade Runner 2024, and he ended up directing Dune. So yeah, there's a little tidbit. Um, but yeah, I mean, we haven't even started talking about the movie yet. I'll edit a lot of this out. But let's get into the actors. All right, first of all,
Yeah.
I mean this. All right, which movie had better actors? Part one or part two? I mean, you lost Jason Momoa, who was great
Oh, I'm so
as
sad.
fucking Duncan Idaho.
He was awesome.
He was fucking great. You get Gurney Halleck back from Josh Brolin, who I love, but not as much as Duncan Idaho. And you could tell it seems like Paul Atreides liked Duncan Idaho more than he likes Gurney, even though he loves Gurney. I think you could see like in the first one.
Maybe it's because he was younger too.
Yeah, because when Gurney comes in, when he like in the first one, but he's kind of giving him like an attitude, like I'm trading with you now because Duncan was gone, So normally he would trade with Duncan, but Gurney showed up. He was like, all right, whatever, and Gurney pushes him like probably more like when he was like, I'm not in the mood. He's like he kind of gives him like a little fucking dig. He's like, oh, how about sing us a song or something like that. And when he says that, fucking Gurney gets pissed and he threw the knife at him. But yeah, so like that, like Gurney was more like a stern fatherish figure, where Duncan Idaho was more like a big brother type guy.
They acted like it too.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah. But when Paul sees him the second time in this movie, he has a lot more love for him because it's like he's like the only one left, like he's like that's the only guy he has left other than his mother from before from the Atreides. And then, and I gotta say, I mean, I have never been a Zendaya fan. I don't even know what she comes from. I mean, I know she was in the Spider-Man movies, and I know, but before that, she was something. I don't know. She must have come
Nickelodeon.
She come from Disney, Nickelodeon, one of those.
Yeah, it was Disney on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, all right. Was she like? Did she sing or something? I don't know. Usually those.
No, I think she was just an actress or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I seen her in like a fucking stupid commercial for Zit Cream before I ever even knew who she was, and it said Zendaya on it, so I'm like, all right. And that name kind of it's original. Anyway, she was fucking great in this. I mean, she did more with her like facial expressions than anything. Like you could tell how her relationship with Paul was going just by like her face, like the whole time, And then, but then like it almost like made me like tear up a little bit, like towards the end when like first he goes up to her and says, "I'll love you forever, no matter what, as long as I breathe." Yeah. And then he turns around, and 2 minutes later, he says, "I'll take your daughter's hand in marriage to the emperor." And then on top of it, to save her father's life, the emperor, the princess, played by Florence Pugh, who just out of nowhere just kind of showed up. She's like, if you spare his life, I'll be your willing wife, which kind of makes it even sting more for Zendaya or Chani, I would think.
I didn't even get that.
Right before, like he's about to after he kills Fade, he goes up to him and
I was so happy.
And she was like, he was about to he looks like he's about to kill the emperor, and then she's like, if you do that, I'll be a willing wife. If you spare my father's life, I'll be a willing wife. And then, of course, the camera fucking shows on Chani's face again. He spares him, but he makes him kiss his ring, which was kind of cool. Yeah. And just out of nowhere, Christopher Walken, the Emperor.
He's good though.
He's fucking awesome. Of course he's awesome. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. And it just like but like very first scene, it was like very first scene you had. They just stick those two new big time actors at you, Florence Pugh and Christopher Walken, and it kind of sets it up. So she just kind of like the very first scene is her um, kind of doing like a dictation, kind of like I guess it's like the logs of the emperor or whatever, and she's kind of but she's giving you the audience the background information, like what happened in the battle. So like all the Atreides were wiped out in one night. Blah blah blah. She did the Harkonnens coming back in. Um, Later on, we learn that she's been trained by the Bene Gesserits too.
I know. So how weird is that?
So
the two of them getting married. They both. He's one too, right?
Him? Well,
yeah.
Technically, no. A man can't be a Bene Gesserit.
But he is.
He has the powers of a Bene Gesserit. Yeah. But he's not part of their order. Yeah. He's actually like a step above them because he's like the prophesied, kind of the chosen one. And talk about tossing like big name actors. Just all of a sudden, Anya Taylor-Joy is his sister.
I don't know who that
in that one scene. The girl.
I know. I don't know who she is.
The girl who played. You didn't recognize her? She's got like you can't like mistake that like the eyes and the mouth. It's like, but she ends up like he has that vision of her, and because she's the daughter, she's the unborn sister.
I know, yeah. So why was that whatever she was screaming about her being pregnant?
Because they kind of, I guess they fast tracked this thing. I don't know, but whatever it was, she wasn't supposed to. You're not supposed to give that to somebody because you're probably gonna kill them. You like probably 99.9% of the people that drink the water of life die. It kills them. If it doesn't kill you, then that means you're meant to be what you are. In her case, she was becoming the Reverend Mother. In Paul's case, that was the way to prove that he is Melissan Al-Gaib. And he didn't believe it. He doesn't believe it. I can't say he doesn't believe it. I think he's like in denial. He doesn't want to believe it, but he starts having those visions. And that's why he doesn't want to go south, because he starts having those visions that if he goes south, he'll become this, this Messiah, and it'll start a holy war that will kill everybody. Okay. Which is, I think that's kind of Herbert's way of, his like little dig on, religion, saying like, religion in the history of man, and that's a hard fact. I mean, bubonic plague, COVID, cancer, you name it. Nothing has killed more people than religion, organized religion. It's not about loving your God. It's not about being thankful to a creator. It's about the guy across the street believing something different than you, so you kill him. That's organized religion. That's what they bring. That's what they brought to humanity, and it's a curse. It's a curse on all of us. And that's I think that's what he's saying here. And Paul sees that. He's like, I don't want to be a Messiah. All he wanted was to get some people behind him to avenge his father. That's what he wanted, And then things change, just like when his mother drinks the water of life and she kind of changes. Yeah. And like as an audience, we're not sure like what. All right, so we don't know what her.
I didn't like her after that.
Yeah, because she got very cold. She
wants to stop that
very war. Distant. Yeah, and with her, because once you drink that, you get all of the knowledge and everything that every Reverend Mother in the Bene Gesserit order has known before you. You get all of that information. So now she just knows everything, and it's like I guess I would imagine it's a lot of process, but she doesn't want. I mean, she wants. I don't know. Like it's tough to say. And like I said, I this is from a movie viewer's perspective. Like despite reading the books, I do not remember a lot of it, especially like the last part of it, like the later part of it when it got really weird. I got into like all these visions and them drinking that water of life and then what happens after. And this kind of like made it visual, so it made it easier to understand. And it was just like, he dragged it. He got like more enlightened, and he knew what he had to do. Um, but while he knew what he had to do, he knew what it might lead to. One thing that drinking the water did for him was it showed him that there wasn't just one future. Like there's one set future.
Yeah.
There's many possible futures.
He kept seeing his mom, dead people, so he must know.
Well, that was him following his mother. That was his vision about him going to the south.
Yeah.
Because him following her to the south
We'll do
was gonna make him a messiah, and all these people follow him, and he was gonna lead them and they would just follow him blindly, like religious fanatics do. They just follow it blindly. That's why there's very subliminal like digs at religion in this whole thing, and I think that gets missed in a lot of it, but that's fine because as a movie, I don't need a movie to make a big statement. Like I don't need a movie to make a big political statement or statement about religion. I just need to be entertained with a good story and something that I can follow and something that'll make me think after. I think this one checked all those boxes.
Mm-hmm.
It was great while you were watching it. It made you think a little bit. It made you have to pay attention. 2.5, almost a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
I didn't care what time it was. I never really thought about it.
I looked at my clock. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I never really cared. I felt like it was like might have been a few like 2 or 3 hours. Like once it was getting close to the end. I was like, I would have gladly sat for another hour and watched another hour of it. I never like moved. I never like usually like I'm usually like kind of like when it's like there was moments like my muscles were flexing on their own without me having to move. Like I was like getting tense and then like relaxing and then getting tense and relaxing. It was just.
I didn't doze off, so that's a good one.
She didn't doze off. I mean, you didn't even go to the bathroom.
No.
You didn't even leave the bathroom.
No.
It's a 3-hour movie.
I know.
That's fucking huge.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna get into the technical aspects of this movie. We're not gonna cover I just wanted to, this is like a reaction video, and just a recommendation to everybody out there. Go out, watch this movie. Don't wait for it to get on streaming or whatever. This is the type of movie that makes it fun to go to the movies again.
Yeah, I would love to see it again.
Take the family. The kids. They may have trouble like following the story. The story, this is kind of like Star Wars for adults, and I think it was always. I think that is a quote too. I don't think I'm coining that phrase. I think I heard that somewhere. Like it was meant to be a Star Wars for adults, and it really is. There's a much more complicated storyline to follow, but there's enough spectacle, enough visual satisfaction. There's enough eye candy on the screen. I mean, everybody's good looking in their own way.
Pie.
Yeah, of course. And I will say, Timothée Chalamet, he's the real deal.
Can you believe he's almost 30 years old? He does
he's
not
been
look
around.
it.
He's been around a while.
And her too.
He's made a long and kind of like he didn't like just burst on the scene, but like he's just been slowly. These little niche roles, and little by little, and the word's been spreading.
I'm so excited.
And I remember like years ago, what the fuck did I see him in? I think it was Interstellar. When I seen him in Interstellar, he had a very small role in that. But then I recognized him. The fucking. I can't think of the fucking movie he was in that he kind of like. It was almost like a burst on the scene, but he never really burst on the scene. Not like like DiCaprio or like Brett.
Yeah.
Like he just people were saying, but while he was like making his way up, people were saying this is the next Brad Pitt, the next Leonardo DiCaprio, all that. And I'm like, all right, yeah. I mean, he's okay, and yeah, I mean, this was his coming out party. I think
he was perfect for this.
And it wasn't. And it wasn't even part one. He was just kind of normal, you know. Even the first half, it was after he drank that water. He goes that scene when he goes into the temple.
Yeah.
And he fucking just like he calls on everybody, and still guys like, kill me, I'm already hurt. Just they're like, it's our way. You have to kill me to talk. You have to be the leader of a siege. He's like, fuck that shit. He's like, he just kind of like goes off. He says, I'll fight anybody here, and they all like they're all ready to fight him.
Until he went up to.
And then he just like started like making sense. Yeah, and they're like, yeah, and then by the end of it, they were fucking going, and they just do that like they pan out and you see how many of them there are. And there was just something about that moment. I was just like, it made the hairs stand up on my fucking. They're doing it right now. Look, the fucking hairs are standing up.
Yeah, he did awesome.
It's worth it just to see him. Like he's like Paul Atreides is transforming.
Oh yeah,
from
he
Paul
was
Atreides.
like from the beginning. He was when you look at him, he looked like not spoiled, but like.
Well, I made them comment to you the night before when we were watching. I'm like, look how like young and like
yeah, he looks spoiled and like his
like
mom was like he was a mama's boy.
Yeah, he was a little spoiled brat.
Yeah. And then later, that's what I liked about it.
A little
like,
entitled,
up
and
not like caring, like he wants to be like part of somebody. You know what I mean? Like.
And that's why it would take me back to like the '84 version where David Lynch. A lot of people give David Lynch a hard time. If he had 5 hours, which is basically they had over 5 hours in this to develop Paul as a character, and to try and do that in 2 hours, it's not going to happen. You just couldn't do it. So you watch. I mean, as goofy as the '84 version was, you're gonna think about it. That's fucking 40 years ago. The technology at the time, what they had for special effects.
That's what I'm saying.
It wasn't horrible. It was just it wasn't.
It's different compared to now.
It didn't have enough information for people who didn't read the book, and it didn't give you like enough depth for the people that did read the book. So it was just like it was just a mess. This one he did everything right, and like I said, like I feel like in this movie you're watching Paul Atreides like transform into this like just next level person. You're also seeing like the creation of an absolute superstar as an actor with this kid. Like if he wasn't a superstar before. He is
I hope so. He
absolutely
deserves it.
no. He is absolutely like he might be the number one guy right now. Like if I saw a movie like the top billed actor, and if it's him in it, I can't picture a name I would want to see over him. Really, right now, who? I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio.
No,
he's a hit or miss guy.
He's old now.
And he's getting old. Yeah, and he's at that age where like he's still. I mean, he could pull off an older role, but once you see that, it's like, it's like when De Niro started doing the old roles, and it was like, now I can't look at him any other way now. And then sometimes they'll try to make him look younger in a movie, and it just doesn't work. Like The Irishman, it was like, Jesus Christ. So it's like, he's the guy. Right now, as far as I'm concerned.
Did I watch that? No.
Maybe. Yeah, it was that. It was forgettable. So
I'm thinking of The Gentleman. That's what I'm thinking of.
Another thing, since we're talking about up and coming actors, the kid that plays Fade Rauta, the kid Austin Butler. I only know this because I've been watching on I think it's Apple. The guy he duels at the end, the bald guy.
He's so fucking creepy.
With the black teeth and shit. But he is actually. Oh, you wouldn't believe what he looks like in real life. If you'd be
I'm gonna
shocked.
have to look him up.
But he's an up and coming guy too. You watch out for him. I mean, his acting I haven't really noticed anything, but he's been in a bunch of shit now. He's in that Masters of the Air, the big Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks, kind of the Air Force version of Band of Brothers.
Holy crap, that's different.
Oh yeah. So, he's not a bad looking guy. That's the thing. But they made him look like fucking like a creep.
Ew, he was creeping me out. Him and his fat uncle.
Yeah.
That's how I'm supposed to say, but he was just creepy.
And I was surprised. Like, actually, I mean, in the story, he's kind of a goof too. But Dave Bautista, Beast Rabbit.
Yeah.
they like in the first one he seemed scary.
Yeah.
And in the second one, he was like an idiot. Like
Yeah.
everybody was kicking him around. It's when the fucking his little skinny fucking cousin fucking
Yeah.
slapped him across the face and made him lick his boot. Oh, there's so much to get into it. Like that's why I don't want to get into like all the scenes and all the good parts.
We're gonna have to see this.
There's too much spoiler in there. We probably gave a lot of spoiler away already. But go see this in the theaters. Do not wait for this. Do yourself a favor. Bring the family. There's nothing. There's no like no sex. I mean, there's like sex.
Really.
Maybe like one like half a.
Not even.
It's not even. Yeah, it's like there's nothing. There's no like awkward moments. And you know this is. There's a lot of actors in this movie that your kids.
Wow.
What the hell was that? And so, just to finish up, take the family, go see this movie, go see it in IMAX. I feel like it would be the bigger and louder the theater you're in, the better for this movie. The action is great, the acting is outstanding, the direction, just everything. You can't say anything bad. If this does not sweep the Oscars, I am going to be fucking very upset. I'm just gonna say
it's rigged.
It's fucking rigged. So that's my fucking final thoughts. I'm mad now thinking about it because I got a feeling it's gonna get. I don't think it'll get ripped off. I think they're gonna do it right. I think they ripped it off last year.
No,
or
they'll
the
rip it
last
off.
time.
They suck.
Yeah, but there's nothing. I mean, there's nothing even like on the horizon that's even close to this.
They'll pick some stupid ass movie.
There's no Christopher Nolan this year. There's no like any big budget. I don't see how this doesn't win.
Because they'll pick a stupid movie like they always do.
I don't even care. As long as it wins.
I've never even heard of.
It just needs to win Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Actor.
Yeah.
Those three. Other than that, I don't care what it should win. It's going to win. There's no doubt. It's gonna win Best Cinematography, Best Sound Effects, Best Visual Effects, Best Original Score. It's gonna win all those technical ones, but it needs to hit to really do this movie the justice, so that it's known in history as one of the greatest science fiction movies of all time, which it is. It is definitely in the last 20 years, and
all I know is I want to smell some spice, so I can have those nice blue eyes.
I want to smell some spice so I can get the nice side effects. I don't care about the eyes.
I want the eyes.
All right, you get the eyes, and I get the highs.
Yeah,
yeah. This is definitely one for the ages. Go see it. Two D'Amicos can't be wrong.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for watching. Be sure to watch some probably improved video from us. This is probably the first one I'm gonna do. We've done a couple. They've been a little shoddy. I'm working on the editing. I'm learning new things, but this is what we do. This is what we love. We love movies, and we saw a good one yesterday. Go see it. You will thank us.
Peace out.
Bitches.